How to add a base to your dental model. Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to review a model I received from orthodontics asking me how to add a base and make sure they look smooth. There are other solutions I've seen, for example a mesh mixer and others, which are adding a base that looks kind of rough and sometimes has a lot of extra pieces, needs to be trimmed away, which may or may not make issues, but the challenge here is how you can add something really smooth. And for that I'm going to show you two examples. Both of them are relatively okay, but one of them is not perfectly smooth. Still they have no extra pieces, no nothing, it's manifold. But the second one is even much smoother and it's clean, it's just a few extra steps. So I've recorded an interactive tutorial, so let me walk you through it. So to get started I'll load this tutorial and we get started by importing the object. And I'm simply importing it from scene here, and it takes a second. It's okay. So we have 271,000 faces, and the first thing I want to show you is how do you know if the object has thickness, has a volume, or is just a surface, a hollow surface without anything, just a shell. The way to see that is if you turn on the back face coloring, and if I turn it on, you can see the inside faces has a different color. This means there's no thickness. If your goal is just to add thickness, then you can use the add thickness option and to make it hollow. But in this case, the idea here is how you can actually add a flat base. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to rotate it by 90 degrees, just the orientation is different. And finally, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to simplify. This has quite a lot of faces, and SelfCAD's simplification tool can reduce it significantly without actually damaging the model how it looks like. So it will barely be noticeable that it has been simplified, yet it will reduce and will speed up everything. This is not essential. Everything I'm going to show you here will work without simplifying. It's just a good practice, why not? Okay, so now I'm going to make a copy of this object to be able to show you two solutions. So I'm simply going to make a copy and I'm going to move it. You can see it highlights this gizmo, this is what I used to move it, and it's going to tells me to go to 71, actually snaps it in place once I go there, and closing it. Okay, so we finished setting up everything. I have two objects here, and the first one I'm going to show you is on this. I'm going to go to edge mode. My goal here is to select all of the edges from the bottom here, and for that SelfCAD has an interesting tool. In the edge mode, in the advanced settings, there's an option called select loose. And once I click this, all of the edges below are selected. You can see over here we have selected 321 edges. I think this number is important, actually you're going to see it later, but 321 edges. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to flatten this now. So I'm going to move this down. I went to flattened and I took the top gizmo to move it down, make sure it comes to 0. So this is basically flat. Okay, so we have solved the first challenge, is basically flatten it. And now how do we add the surface is what we're going to do here is I'm going to deselect here the selected edges, adjust entire object, go to fill polygon. Actually I could have filled polygon while it was still selected, it doesn't really matter. In general, if you have an object that has multiple holes, you can select part of it and have fill polygon select just that. And if you turn it off, the selection like I have now, it will fill everything. In this case there's nothing to fill, only the bottom, so it's the same if I kept it selected or not. But yeah, that's just why I did it, what I did without any specific reason. Okay, so now I'm clicking on fill polygon. So the fill polygon is really good in filling flat surfaces. It's really fast and really good, accurate. So take a look, takes just a second, and it's filled, and this is done. So this is basically done. Now you can see this is an object that is manifold, there's no extra pieces, no nothing, it looks good, but still has a little bit rough edges. It's not perfect from a visual. You wouldn't have any issue printing it or whatever, but it's not perfectly visual. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the other method, and to select this I'm going to go to inverse select, so we'll deselect this and select this piece, and I'm going to repeat the same method at start where I'm going to select loose edges, but instead of working on these edges directly, as you have the same 321, I'm just going to go copy. So I'm copying these edges, and now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a second copy of these edges. So we have these edges selected over here, and we'll make a second copy of it. And the second copy I'm going to move down a little bit. Doesn't really matter the exact number. I did it -1. This is obviously depending on how you want the final model to look like. The main goal here is that I want to create a bridge between these two, and that bridge will actually smooth out the surface, and then I'm going to move down the smooth surface. So to do that, I'm first going to rename this object to kind of second, just for me as a reference to know which object is which. And now I'm going to turn off the edge selection. I'm going to select the second profile. So I've selected both profiles, and if you see, what I did is the second that I named second actually was selected first, and then I selected the first profile, which has profile 1. So from a selection method, let's say I'm going to go to a tool called bridge. From a selection method, from the software point of view, it only cares which one I selected first. You see over here, if I hover on it, it highlights this profile. It's named second, and it's 0, position 0. So that's the first one, and you see this the highlight in the bottom. If you go to the next one, it's the highlight in the top, and this is profile 1, this is position 1. Because it matters which way I select it. It doesn't really know what is top, what is bottom. It knows what you select. If you reverse the selection, that will be reversed. You can also move it from here, take this drag and drop and switch the order. Okay, so why am I showing you this? Because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn off the last one, because I only want to fill the bottom here. I don't care about the inside. Not just I don't care, it will actually make it non-manifold to fill the inside, because I'm going to solder these two together, and I don't want to be any inside faces. So I want it to be only the bottom faces, because I'm not going to use stitch and scoop to actually officially solder them together. I'm going to simply merge it, and you'll see soon. So all I did here is I added this smooth bridge, and I filled only the bottom of it, not the inside. And I left the default linear. The linear option means that it will keep the vertices the same. It wouldn't change these vertices, so it's not adding additional details, which makes sure I can better merge it without issues later. Okay, so I'm finalizing it. And now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select the polygon mode, select this polygon at the bottom, and I'm simply going to flatten it. So it's very similar to the previous approach. It's just that I added like a second object. So I'm going to move this down, flatten it, and exit out and deselect. Okay, so we have the objects done, and now we have to simply solder them together. Now I could have filled the inside and stitch and scoop, but it wouldn't work because this also has no volume yet. So if I would use fill polygon on the top and then fill both sides and this and then use stitch and scoop, yeah, it could have worked, but the fill polygon on a curved surface is not perfect. So it's much better this way than I'm doing it now. So I'm going to turn off the selection. I'm simply going to select this model as well, and I'm going to use merge, Control+M, or from the edit menu you can do merge, and look what's happening. 321 vertices removed. I showed you before 321 was the number of edges over here. It actually removed all of these vertices here. It stitched them together. If I'm going to isolate these two objects, or actually let's say inverse select, delete the profiles, you can see they are really cleaned up together, and this is much smoother. This is really smooth. If you see over here the edges also, it's kind of smooth, while this one is also good, but yeah, has some roughness to it. So the idea here is that the small, you can't even see it, the small difference here that we did actually helped smooth it out, and then I moved it down, I got it smooth. Now the color here is just, let me just reset the material, so you'll see once I reset the material, you can't even see a difference that this was done later. This is kind of really smooth combined together. Okay, so this is how you add a smooth bottom to your scan. Thanks for watching, and please let me know in the comments if you want me to show anything else. Bye.